Many of the features we've explored in this course are relatively new to the JavaScript language. Things like const, let, arrow functions, and template strings did not exist in JavaScript for most of JavaScript's life. There's something else that's new that I want to talk about. It is the class syntax, and it's just an alternative way to create a constructor function with its methods like we've done here. So we're going to explore this new syntax, and it's not going to change the functionality. So the Hangman game is still going to work just the same. It's just going to be set up a bit differently in terms of how we structure this file. To kick things off though, let's go ahead and open up the person.js file. We are going to convert this one over to the new syntax together. We'll explore some of its features, then we'll do the same thing for Hangman. Now, the new syntax we're about to explore is known as syntactical sugar. It's still doing the exact same things behind the scene. The new syntax just makes writing it a bit nicer. So in the end of the day, we still have a constructor function, and we still add methods onto its prototype property. The new syntax, though, looks a bit different. Let's go ahead and explore it by creating our first class using the class keyword. After the class keyword, we provide the name. So in the case of the below one, it would have been capital P person. In order to avoid conflicting with that name, let's go ahead and use something similar. I'm going to go ahead and use person class just like this. Now, what do? We open and close a set of curly braces, and there we go. We technically have a valid class definition, though it doesn't do anything particularly interesting. Before we move on though, let's go ahead and make an instance of it. So down below, const myPerson equals, we still use the new operator and we still reference it, person class, calling it as a function. Then, for the moment, we're just going to dump myPerson to the console since we don't have any methods to actually work with. Console.log, right here, myPerson. Excellent. Let's go ahead and save the file, run it, and see what we get. I'm going to save things, and over in the terminal, I'm going to open up a brand new tab, and we are going to navigate into that folder, that's cdoop, and from this directory, that's node person.js. When I run it, we're interested in the first thing that prints. What is the first thing? It is person class setup with no instance properties. Excellent. Now we can start hashing out the details of what makes the person class unique. Let's start off with the constructor function. That's what we have right here. We get in our initial values and we set up the object properties. We still define a constructor function using the class syntax. Right here, we type out constructor. Then we set up the arguments for the constructor. Then we set up the constructor function body. So this syntax looks similar to the shorthand method syntax we explored earlier. On an object, like this one, we saw there's a couple different ways we can create methods. I might have my method, setting the object property equal to a function, using the function keyword like this. But we also saw that we can use the shorthand syntax by removing the colon and the function keyword, in which case we just end up with this, which has the exact same effect. So that is the syntax that we actually have to use for classes. It is invalid to try to set constructor equal to a function like we might do for an object. What goes inside of these curly braces is not an object. It is the class definition, which follows its own set of rules. So right here, we can define our constructor. We can set up all of the same arguments we had before. I can literally take all of these arguments, copy them, paste them right here. Then I can take all of the properties we set up, copy those, and paste them in the constructor function as well. Now let's create a new instance of person class, but pass in some more interesting data. Right here, I'll use myself, Andrew Mead, 27. For likes, we'll just put teaching for the moment. Now we can actually save things, rerun it, and see if everything is getting set up correctly based off of what we actually have so far. Over in the terminal, I'm going to rerun that program, and this time around, for the person class instance, I am seeing first name, last name, age, and likes all set up correctly. So there we have it. When we're using the old syntax, we create a function like this. This is the constructor function. When we're using the new syntax, we define constructor inside of the class definition. We never need to manually call constructor. It gets called automatically when we use the new operator with the class name we've picked out. So there we have it. That is the first important step towards converting to this new syntax. The next very important step is actually defining the methods, like getBio and setName. The methods for our class get defined right here inside of those curly braces. So just after the closing curly brace for constructor, but before the closing curly brace for the class itself, we type out the method name. Let's go ahead and start with getBio. That's getBio, followed by the arguments list and our function body, just like we did for constructor. Now, one important difference you'll notice between the class definition we're using here and a standard object definition is that there is no comma between the constructor and the method name. This is not needed inside of the class definition, and it's actually not supported. So if you did try to add it in, the program would crash. Now we can go ahead and fill out getBio. All we're going to do is take the exact same code from down below. And I'm intentionally doing this to prove to you that what we get is the exact same thing. It is just a different way to structure it. I'm going to copy that code. I'm going to paste it in, and now we have our getBio method all set up. We can go ahead and actually use it before continuing on. We use it just like we would use a method defined earlier. It is myPerson.getBio. I call it as a function, which it is. It takes no arguments, so I pass in none, and then I'll just rerun the script. I'm going to use clear first to clear the terminal output. If I rerun the script, right here we get our message. Andrew is 27, Andrew likes teaching. This is the exact same format we were able to see using the other definition. So now that we have this in place, getBio is working, let's go ahead and move on to the last method, which is setName. Down below, after the closing curly brace for getBio, setName. We'll set up the arguments list and the function body. This time around, we are going to take a single argument. This one takes the full name, and then the actual body is going to be exactly the same as the body we had previously. I'm going to take those 3 lines, copy them, and paste them up above. And there we go. We now have person class, which has the exact same functionality as person down below. Though in my opinion, and in the opinion of many others, the one above is much nicer to read, update, and work with. Now let's finish off this conversion process by actually removing the old definition entirely. Down below, I'm going to remove the instance of person class that we just created to test out our new class. Then I'm also going to remove the old person constructor function as well as its 2 methods. This leaves us with just the code that used the previous person and our new class definition. All we have to do to finish the conversion process is change the name to person, which is no longer a conflict since we removed the other person. And there we have it. We should be able to save things, run them, and get the exact same behavior we had before. Right here, we are indeed getting that. For Alexis, we have her age and her likes. For Clancy, who has no interests at all, we just have his name and his age. So this new definition does the exact same thing behind the scenes. It's just a nicer way to actually go about defining and setting up your classes. And now that we've seen this new syntax in action, it's going to be your job to convert Hangman much like we converted person. So we're going to be switching our constructor function, as well as the 4 methods we have down below, over to that new syntax. That means you're going to completely rework this file, but remember, when we change over to that new syntax, it is just syntactical sugar. What happens behind the scenes is the same, meaning that you should not need to change a single character in app.js to get things to work. So take as much time as you need to knock this one out using the new class definition syntax, then actually test your work. So try to run through a game, make sure all of the various edge cases are still handled correctly. Pause the video, test your work, then come back and click play. How'd you do? Let's go ahead and convert things over to the new syntax, class, Hangman. In here, we're going to start off with the constructor function. So we have our constructor, we have our arguments list, we have word, and we have remaining guesses. Now on to the body for the constructor. Right here, we're just going to take the body from down below. I'm going to copy it and paste it up above. Excellent. So that is it for the constructor function. Super simple. We're going to move through the same simple process for all of our other methods. The next one we have is calculate status. Calculate status doesn't take any arguments, and all we're going to do is take the function body, copy it, and paste it up above. After calculate status, we have get status message. I'll copy that function body. This one does not take any arguments. Right here, get status message, setting up the arguments list, the method body, and I'll paste the old code in. Now that leaves us with just 2 more methods. The next one on our list is getPuzzle. I'm going to grab that code and set up the method in our class up above. Right here, getPuzzle. Once again, no arguments taken. Excellent. And then we just have one more method. At the very bottom of the file, we have makeAGuess. MakeGuess does take a guess in, so we have to make sure to set up that argument. I'm going to copy all of the code, go up here, and do just that. MakeGuess. We take in a single argument, which is the guess we're trying to make, and then inside of the function, what do? We do all the same stuff we did before. Perfect. Now we've successfully converted everything, and we can actually delete all of the code in the file down below, where we set up the constructor as well as our prototype properties. Awesome. With this new definition in place, we should be able to run the Hangman game just as we were able to do before. I'm going to save hangman.js without making a single change to app.js. Over here, let's start making some guesses. I'm going to guess the letter K, which is not in there, and I'm down to 1 guess left. I'll guess C, that does show up, A, T, and I do get my congratulations message. So there we have it. Using this new syntax, what do we get? We just get a different way to define things. We do not get any different behavior. So you're more than welcome to go either way, though it's more common to see people using the class syntax these days. It's generally seen as nicer, more intuitive, and more organized. That's where I'd like to stop for this one. In the next video, we're going to explore some other features of the class syntax, so let's go ahead and jump right into that.